Hello, Panthers, and welcome to our first school-wide reading outside of those we've done for you for holidays. We are excited to kick off this journey as we will be doing multiple readings for you weekly that you can watch as a class or on your own time or in centers. So lots of different ways that you can watch this. We want you to enjoy reading, and this is our start to that, and we're going to kick it off with a back-to-school book called I Don't Want to Go Back to School by Marissa Bena Russo. So how many of you have felt that way, that you didn't want to go back to school? I know sometimes it's a little hard to get up after you have been in the bed all summer and kind of sleep until whenever you wanted to. So I'm sure several of you have felt like, I don't want to go back to school. So that is the title of our book. Summer is almost over, said Mama. Soon you will have to go back to school. Already, said Ben. Summer is so short. I don't want to go back to school. You're a big boy, said Mama. You're going to be in second grade. You know what school is like. I wish I could stay home. Did any of you feel that way? That maybe you wished you could have stayed home because summer seemed a little short because you were having so much fun? I bet some of you were excited. The next day, a letter arrived from Ben's school. It said his new teacher would be Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson, said Ben's sister Hannah. I remember the time he wouldn't let his class out for recess because, Hannah, said Daddy. So do you think that made Ben feel any better about going back to school? What if Mr. Johnson really is mean, said Ben. I don't want to go back to school. Remember the big yellow bus, said Mama? You said you liked riding the bus to school. What if the driver misses my stop on the way home, asked Ben. Or you fall asleep and miss your stop, said Hannah. I did that once. Don't worry, said Mama. I'll wait for your bus and make sure you get home. Is Hannah, the big sister, being very helpful in this situation to Ben's feelings? Do you have sisters or brothers who sometimes don't help to make you feel better? What if no one remembers me at school, said Ben. All your friends will remember you, said Daddy. What if the teacher asks me a really hard question and I don't know the answer, said Ben. Yeah, like who was the first president to live in the White House, said Hannah. I don't know, said Ben. George Washington? Wrong, said Hannah. It was John Adams. See, Mama, said Ben, that's why I don't want to go back to school. Mama frowned at Hannah. Then she turned to Ben. Don't worry. You're not supposed to know all the answers when you go to school. When Mama woke Ben up for the first day of school, he pretended he was still asleep. He's just faking, said Hannah. I'll show you. She tickled his feet. Stop it, shrieked Ben. Come on, Ben. It's time to get up for school, said Mama. I don't want to go back to school. I feel sick, said Ben. You're not sick, said Hannah. You're just a scaredy cat. Ben got dressed and ate his breakfast. He brushed his teeth and patted his dog goodbye. Maybe we could send you instead of me, said Ben. You could ride the bus and sit at my desk and take a dog biscuit for snack. Come on, Ben. It's time for your bus, said Mama. How is Ben feeling at this point of the story? Do you think he's a little nervous? Were any of you nervous before you got on the bus for the first day? Hannah and Ben rode the same bus. They sat together. Oh, I forgot to tell you, Mr. Johnson keeps a giant tarantula in the closet, said Hannah. When he gets mad, he lets it loose on your desk. Be quiet, Hannah, said Ben. Do you think he really has a tarantula in his closet? Do any of your teachers have a tarantula in their closet? When Ben got off the bus, he saw Isaac and Andy. Who's your teacher? Asked Isaac. Mr. Johnson, said Ben. We both got Miss Goldsmith, said Andy. Great, said Ben. Now there's no one in my class. We'll see you at recess, said Andy. Do any of you have a connection to that? That maybe you felt like there was nobody in your class when you got here? Ben took a deep breath and walked into his classroom. There was Mr. Johnson. He was wearing a gray shirt and a tie with soccer balls on it. "Hi, Ben," said a boy sitting in the front row. It was David. "Okay, class," said Mr. Johnson. "Welcome to 2J. I want you all to meet my friend Millie." Mr. Johnson reached into a tank and pulled out a green, scaly reptile. It was a lizard. "If you look around, you will see we have a few other unusual classmates." Ben and all the children looked around. They saw a turtle, a rabbit, and a snake. Ben wondered if there was really a tarantula in the closet. "We're going to start off the day with a game," said Mr. Johnson. They played first name bingo. Ben won. Then Mr. Johnson read them a book about a make-believe lizard family. Millie seemed to be listening too. Mr. Johnson was a good reader. Ben liked the way he made all these funny voices with the different characters. After snack, Mr. Johnson pulled down a map of the world. He pointed to the United States and talked about places where lizards live. "Ben, can you please show me where South America is?" Ben felt his face grow warm. He walked up to the map. He didn't really know where to look. "I'll give you a hint," said Mr. Johnson. "It's south of the United States." Mr. Johnson didn't rush Ben. He let him run his finger down the map until he found South America. "Great job," said Mr. Johnson. You think Ben might be feeling a little better about his day? He's got a friend in his class, hadn't seen a tarantula yet, and the teacher helped him find the answer instead of saying he was wrong like his sister told him. After lunch, they drew pictures of themselves and wrote stories about their families. As they were getting ready to go home, Mr. Johnson announced that tomorrow they would be talking about insects. "I'm going to bring in some interesting bugs for you to look at," said Mr. Johnson. "Tarantulas?" asked Ben. "No," said Mr. Johnson. "Hissing cockroaches." When Ben got on the school bus, Hannah was already there. "So, how was Mr. Johnson? Mean and rotten, huh?" said Hannah. "No, he was nice," said Ben. "What about his tarantulas? Were they big and hairy?" said Hannah. "He doesn't have any tarantulas," said Ben. "Do any of the kids remember you?" asked Hannah. "Yes, everyone did," said Ben. "Are you going back tomorrow?" asked Hannah. "Of course," said Ben. All the way home, Ben looked out the window. He wanted to make sure he got off at the right stop, and then he saw Mama waiting at the corner. "Come on, Hannah," said Ben, but Hannah didn't move. Ben had to wake her up, or she would have missed their stop. Because what'd she do? She fell asleep, just like she told Ben he was going to. The end. So, in our story, our character Ben, he didn't really want to go back to school because he probably felt the same way a lot of you did. He was nervous. He wouldn't know anybody in his class. He was nervous about a new teacher. And throughout the story, he came and he experienced great things with his new teachers. He found that there were friends in his class, and now, of course, he wants to come back to school. So we hope you all feel the way that Ben did in this, and that you are not being Hannah in this story to your siblings and telling them that they're going to, have bad days, and that you are encouraging your brothers and sisters to have good days as well. So we hope that none of you feel like you don't want to come back to school, because we're always excited to see you here, and it's going to be the best year ever. Thank you for listening to our first read aloud story school-wide of I Don't Want to Go Back to School by Marzbina Russo. Have a wonderful rest of the day.